Oh, Venus and Aries. And hold on, I've got these nice little reactions. Venus and Aries. Yeah, so this is 2 days later. This is on Friday. This is Venus Day. And Venus goes into Aries. The sun is right there at the North Node, getting closer to Chiron. Who wants to lead us off on this? I can give my thoughts on it just because I just spent some time reading a good bit about just the idea that Venus is not at home in Aries, right? Because she's at home in the opposing sign of Libra. She's also at home in Taurus, but when we think about any planet that is 180 degrees away from its domicile, it's called an exile. So it's usually freed from the parameters of which it's expected to act, which I think is more appropriate for Venus in Aries. She's not beholden to the prescriptions of what a Venusian should be or do. So there's a bit of a rebelliousness and a free from the shackles of expectations with Venus in Aries. Sometimes it means you have to work a little harder because you're not at home. So I liken it to traveling and you just have a backpack on you and you get to move around very freely, but maybe you don't have things as easily handed to you. So there can be a little bit of exhaustion because you have to work really hard to kind of get the things that you need. But there's that freedom and that excitement, and there's a nice fiery purpose to Venus in Aries. Venus is one of the decan rulers. It's the last decan ruler of Aries, and so she'll get kind of to her own seat within the castle of Mars later on in the month. But when she launches in, she rules the Taurus house, which is that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that'll happen a few weeks later. So she's got dominion over some pretty big transits this month. But for this time, I kind of feel like it's like mom without the kids for a couple of weeks. She just gets to like let her hair down and do whatever she wants. And there's a fun kind of relief of this, even though she's leaving her exaltation and going into detriment. I feel not. I don't feel like this is necessarily like a harmful placement to Aries. That's just a personal opinion. So yeah, what other thoughts do people have on that?
I love a fiery Venus, but I'm with you on even though she's technically not doing so hot, I think I like Venus and Aries. I think it's interesting again here, we've got Pluto on the ascendant. As far as like omens go, it's kind of interesting with the moon there as well. Yeah, I don't know if it's just speaking to, or in some way I feel like that lends itself to what's going to happen later in the month, or is an omen for that with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and like the depths we're going to there. It's nice that obviously the sun is already is further away. She's going to get close and get burned up there, but they've got that 15 degrees of separation there so that she starts her travels through Aries, not getting too burned up. And it's also interesting that the sun is conjunct the North Node. So I think, there's some like extra emphasis being placed on this as well. Like, there's just going to be like a big feeling of like, yes, like Venus and Aries, like, let's go. I feel like I get like energized just kind of thinking about that energy, and what that might feel like to have the sun kind of lending itself there nicely to whatever house Aries is in for people.
Yeah, and one thing that just I thought of is, Venus is representing women in general, and it feels like women particularly have kind of been I mean, historically attacked, like, you know, traditionally attacked and been like kind of vulnerable to aggression. And Venus stepping into Aries, I think I'd like it because it's Venus reminding the world of like women are powerful too, and this is a way for feminine power to be expressed in a very beautiful way. And maybe we're not domiciled, we are kind of on our own. I don't know, it has this nice, I feel like women might feel empowered through that Venusian Aries, and really just the power of the yin might be amplified, whether it's gendered or not. It's like the yin power kind of gets highlighted, and maybe we're going to need that fiery yin warrior spirit through the month, because there's a lot going on just all over the world, but also just astrologically. And I feel proud that Venus is going to be in Aries for April. Maybe that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I like that Venus is in Mars's decan, and we've got Mars in Venus's bound. So Mars is bringing her the resources as well. So while she's fighting that fight, and again, going back to Austin Coppock's descriptions of the decans, he describes this one as the axe. It's the conqueror. So it's bringing that energy of the conqueror and the conquered. So what are we as women going to be? You know, let's pick a side. You know, do we want to aim to be the conqueror, or are we going to settle for being conquered? You know, so let's bring this fire. Let's stand up and fight. I feel like Mars is really bringing all the fire that he can. You know, we've got all that fire behind us to really get something going. So yeah, you could see a lot of women's movements really getting started now, really getting fired up, I feel. And also there's just that feeling of spring courtship rituals, that kind of time when that's all going. And Venus in Aries makes me think of the way that like fashion and everything gets expressed in a Aries kind of way, that you see fashion shows and things, don't you, starting up at this time. And those really, like when she's in detriment or exile, that the way that art comes through can be really offbeat or unusual and quirky and quite fantastic. You know, it's not conventional, it's not going to follow the rules.
It's like that Cruella de Vil movie, like that Cruella fashion feels very Venus and Aries.
Yeah. So yeah, watch out for things like that. I love that.
All right, I'm gonna move on unless we have any final thoughts. This is one of the ingresses of like a planet leaving its exaltation to the next sign, that it doesn't feel so poor. You know, sometimes we kind of feel bad for the planet leaving, but for this one, I'm like, yeah, you left your exile, but then you get to go into Aries. So, Shauna, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say that while you're all talking about, you know, different significations, the image that kept coming to my mind, just on a simplistic level, is woman. She's got her backpack. She's going rock climbing, but she's going by herself. You know, that's very. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to exert my own physical ambitions and prove to myself that I can. And then Sonia, something you said. The passions of how Venus can express itself in Aries. Buying yourself flowers, like that seems so simple, but instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers, like buying them for yourself because you like them, you think they're pretty, you know, like that kind of thing. Very simplistic.
Red flowers.